The night was dark and gloomy. The sky was shrouded in a thick fog, which made it almost impossible to see anything beyond a few feet. The silence was shattered by the sound of a menacing laughter that echoed through the night air. Suddenly, a dark figure emerged from the mist, dressed in a colorful clown suit. Its face was painted with a wide, sinister grin, and its eyes glowed a bright red. The clown slowly started to approach, and its presence was overwhelming. It was like something out of a nightmare. People who were around were rooted to the spot, unable to move or speak. The clown's laughter grew louder as it got closer, and its red eyes seemed to be fixed on everyone in the vicinity. Some tried to run, but their legs wouldn't budge. Others tried to scream, but their voices were stuck in their throats. The only thing that could be heard was the sound of the clown's laughter, which was now deafening. As the clown got closer and closer, its laughter started to sound more and more like a growl. Its eyes seemed to be filled with malice, and its grin became even wider. It was clear that this was not an ordinary clown, but something far more sinister. Suddenly, the clown stopped in its tracks and stood there, motionless. The laughter stopped, and the silence was deafening. The clown's eyes seemed to be fixed on a single person, and everyone could feel the tension in the air. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the clown turned around and disappeared back into the mist. Everyone breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the memory of the clown's menacing presence lingered. No one knew who or what the clown was, or where it had come from, but they knew one thing for sure: they never wanted to encounter it again. As the clown drew closer, the fear among the group intensified. Its eyes never left its victims, and its laughter continued to echo through the night, causing a chill to run down everyone's spine. But clown to stop. The clown's laughter faltered for a moment, and it seemed taken aback by the sudden display of bravery. Encouraged by this small victory, a few more people stepped forward and joined in, their voices growing stronger as they shouted at the clown to leave them alone. To everyone's surprise, the clown began to shrink back, its menacing laughter replaced by a guttural growl. Its eyes seemed to be filled with rage, and it started to lash out, its fists flailing wildly. The group scattered, trying to avoid the clown's attacks. Some tried to run, while others fought back with whatever they could find. The clown was no longer in control, and the fear that it had once held over the group began to fade away. Eventually, the group managed to overpower the clown, and it fell to the ground, defeated. As they looked down at the fallen clown, they realized that it was just a man in a costume. They couldn't believe that they had been so scared of something so mundane. But at the same time, they knew that the fear they had experienced was real, and that they had all been paralyzed by it. As they walked away from the scene, the group realized that they had learned an important lesson that night. They had learned that sometimes, the only way to overcome fear is to face it head-on, and that bravery can come from even the most unlikely sources. Breathless and shaken, the group stood in stunned silence, surveying the aftermath of their battle with the clown. The fog had dissipated, and the night sky was clear once again. As they caught their breath, they realized that they had all been changed by the experience. One of the group members suggested they call the police, but another pointed out that there was no evidence that a crime had been committed. It had just been a man in a clown suit, after all. They decided to go their separate ways, each carrying with them the memory of the fear they had faced and the courage they had found within themselves. Over the next few days, the incident with the group members felt a sense of pride knowing that they had stood up to the clown and inspired others to do the same. As time passed, the group remained close, often meeting to talk about their experience and reflect on the lessons they had learned. They knew that they had been lucky to survive, but they also knew that they had grown stronger from the experience. Despite the trauma they had endured, the group had emerged victorious, with a newfound sense of bravery and resilience. They knew that they would never forget the night they faced their fears and triumphed over a terrifying clown. As they walked through the quiet streets, the group members couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They kept looking over their shoulders, half expecting the clown to reappear. Even though they had defeated it, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were still being watched. When they finally reached their homes, they were greeted with worried family members and friends. The news of the clown's attack had spread quickly, and everyone was relieved to see the group members were safe. However, the group members couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over them. They knew that the clown was just the tip of the iceberg, and that there were many other dangers lurking in the shadows. Over the next few days, the group members tried to go back to their normal lives, but they couldn't shake the memories of the clown's attack. They found themselves constantly looking over their shoulders and avoiding dark alleys and secluded ideas. They knew that they had to be prepared for anything, and that the best way to do that was to be trained in self-defense. As they began their self-defense classes, the group members felt a sense of empowerment. They were no longer helpless victims, but rather, they were strong and capable of defending themselves against any threat. The memory of the clown's attack still haunted them, but they knew that they had the tools and the strength to face any challenge that came their way. They had learned the hard way that the world could be a dangerous place, but they had also learned that they were capable of facing that danger head-on. As time passed, the group members tried to move on from the events of that fateful night. They went about their daily lives, trying to put the memory of the clown behind them. But it was impossible to forget. They started experiencing strange nightmares and unexplainable events. They would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, and feeling as though they were being watched. They soon realized that the clown's curse was still with them. It had taken root in their minds, and it was slowly driving them mad. They tried to seek help, but no one believed them. They were dismissed as paranoid and delusional. The group members were now living in constant fear, never knowing when the curse would strike again. They knew that they had to find a way to break the curse, or else they would be haunted for the rest of their lives. Desperate for answers, they turned to a local expert in the occult. The expert explained that the curse was a powerful one, and that it would require a lot of effort to break it. The group members were willing to do whatever it took. They underwent a grueling ritual, facing their deepest fears and confronting the darkness within themselves. They battled the curse with all their might, and finally, after what felt like an eternity, the memory of that cursed clown would always haunt them, and they would never forget the horror they had experienced. They had been scarred for life. As time passed, the memory of the clown began to fade, but the group could still feel its presence lingering in the back of their minds. They had all tried to move on with their lives, but the fear and trauma of that night had never truly left them. Despite their best efforts, the group found themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, always on the lookout for any sign of danger. They had become hyper-vigilant, always ready for the next attack. However, as the years went by, the group slowly began to heal. They found solace in each other's company and shared experiences, and they were eventually able to put the trauma of that night behind them. Though the memory of the clown would always be with them, they had learned to live with it. They had come out the other side stronger, wiser, and more attack and emerge victorious. They had learned how to face their fears and come out the other side. And they would never forget the lessons they had learned that fateful night.